Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the OPT Network. This morning, we are profiling attorney Mike Koch. He is an attorney at Neblett, Beard and Arsenault, and he has been practicing law since 1989, and he has been at the firm since the inception. And it's always interesting, especially for those people that are trying to figure out why they're here, what they're here for, and where their gifts and talents should be deposited in the community and in the world. It's always important to talk to people who are on the journey and on the road. And this morning, another one of those persons who is on the journey and on the road to living his life's passion, attorney Mike Koch. So Mike, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, thank you.
It's good to have you. You know, I'm always interested in people's beginning. And you know, most of us, when we finish high school, we're not really sure about what it is that we're going to do. I want you to talk about those early years when you were trying to figure it out. Take me back to your family and how, you know, how education was talked about in your house.
And I'll tell you how it was talked about. Really, it really wasn't talked about in our house. My parents got divorced at an early age.
Mm-hmm.
I was going into fourth grade, and they got divorced. And it's really just it's just living. You know, that's the best way I can put it. It's dad putting one step, you know, in front of the other. Mom putting one step. Dad was in our household. My mom, he ended up having 4 back surgeries when I was real young, and ended up getting on workers' comp. It was on the job injury. And then subsequently got on Social Security. And so he was struggling with pain. He was a great daddy and had a great mom, too, I can tell you that. But we were just common folks growing in Baton Rouge in a single household.
Sure.
My mom moved out, and she ended up getting a job, but I would see her on weekends. So we really didn't talk about education. That really wasn't stressed at all in our family.
So when did it start to come into your sphere, into your psyche that maybe I need to get an education more than high school? Yeah,
so I ended up graduating high school, and then I ended up going to junior high because I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just figured I wanted to get a college degree. And so we went to Bismarck Junior High, ended up moving to North Dakota, starting my sophomore year in high school with my dad.
How was that?
It was quite a change, but I embraced it.
Did you?
I really did. It was just something different.
And it was totally different from Louisiana.
Totally different.
Night and day, huh?
And never, you know, we used to, as a kid, we'd travel North Dakota because my dad's parents were from up there. So we'd go there in the summertime. Never spent a winter there. But it's just something you get used to, you know. I went with my dad and
How does your life start to change when you're permanently living there?
Yeah, it just starts to change because you adapt. You know, you got to do what everybody else does.
Right.
And going to school is not an option, even though when you have snow drifts, you know, 4 feet high,
you're going to school.
Right. And that's something I can say my dad, you know, talked is you're going to school. That was always it. You're going to graduate high school. But he never talked about, you know, what are your dreams for the next step or do you even plan on going to college? That was never discussed.
So when does it get planted in you that you need to make that next step? Do you remember?
And I don't remember exactly when it was, but I just know that I needed to go to continue on school. And that's why I went to a junior college that was close by in Bismarck, and I lived at home. And what people called that was it was a high school with ashtrays. You know what I'm saying? You could actually smoke back then. Not that I smoked, but it was something, you know, you were grown up a little bit, but I still lived at home. And then after 2 years, I graduated. I didn't think I would, but I did. And I was like on a train, just like on a mission.
I think I can.
I think I can, exactly. And and probably more than I know I can.
Good.
And then it was, all right, next thing, I accomplished this. How about getting a degree, a 4-year degree? So I ended up going to the University of North Dakota and studied geology. I had an uncle, I still have an uncle in New Orleans that did the same thing. He got a geology degree. And a matter of fact, he ended up going to law school after that. So he's kind of been my mentor without me talking to him, but just something in the back of my mind that I've always
So when you saw your uncle and you saw that he had gotten an education, did that kind of give you a little bit of lifting power to say, maybe I can too?
Absolutely, it did. Absolutely. And then he's done well. You know, he had a nice house and a great family and got to travel the world, a nice car and things like that. And then I ended up living in an apartment in North Dakota, you know, so that was something that I wanted to have is I want to have my own house one day. So I think that's what drove me to continue on with the education.
Do you think when you grow up in a situation where finances are so tight that it makes you say, I don't want to live my life like this, and what do I have to do so that won't happen?
You hit it. That's exactly right. And that's the feeling I had inside of me that I wanted. I wanted to have I didn't want I wanted to have kids one day, but I didn't want them to go to an apartment, just me personally. I wanted, when they got dropped off from their friends, that they went to a house.
And so you kind of struggle with that a little bit internally?
Absolutely, I did. Right. And that was kind of my driving force. Don't regret it. Don't regret anything that happened, the way I was brought up.
That's
As a matter
right.
of fact, I embrace it. That's the way God made me.
It causes you to want to do better.
It did, right.
Than the generation before.
Right. And I had a choice. And that's what I wanted to do better, right.
So does that create a little bit of worry, though, seeing your parents' financial state and seeing your dad in so much pain and kind of having challenges? Does that make you kind of start to worry about life's woes?
I guess I never really did worry about that because you're just living in it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have time to worry about it. You're just living. You're getting your next sandwich. You're going out the door. And obviously, as a kid growing up, I've worked. I've worked since I was old enough to work at 15. I started out in the restaurant business. So I had my little bit of money, saved my money, got a car. Wasn't a fancy car, but it was, it was transportation. Right.
And so then you start moving in education. You're the first person in your immediate family to really start on that journey. Is that daunting?
Yeah, I'm going to say no, it's not, because I was just focused. So I can't even say that I thought it was daunting. But that was my goal, and that's what I went to, and that's what I accomplished. I ended up graduating in 1985 from University of North Dakota in geology.
Wow, amazing! And then you make that decision, kind of, that you're going to go to law school. How does that get birthed in you?
Yeah,
from geology to law.
That's a great question, and a lot of people ask that, and I think. What happened was I got out in 85, and that's when our oil industry went down, and there were not a lot of job offers in geology. There wasn't a lot of corporations coming to our school looking for us. And then I just, and then I can honestly say, at the time I thought that's what I wanted to do, but then I really had doubts, is this really what I want to do the rest of my life? Is this my calling? And then I thought of my uncle being a lawyer and a geologist, and that kind of gave me the seed to say, let's apply to law school. And that's what I did. And I ended up going to Southern Law School and graduated in 1989. But I can tell you from the first, semester of law school, just studying, I studied like I've never studied before, I felt that was my calling right away. That
you did.
I connected with the law. And that's something that I knew I made the right decision then, of leaving geology, going into law, that I knew I made the right decision.
And then so you make that connection, and then you start driving toward finishing.
Right.
And at that point, do you say, I'm going to be able to do a lot of good with the law?
And that's what I said, and that's what I wanted to do, because I knew that this was my calling, when I took it. And that's what the law enables you to do. And there's so many different branches of the law that people can work at. Some people never get a chance to help other people. Some people, sell things through the laws, through Lexis and Westlaw. Some people clerk for judges. And then if you get in a firm, and that's what I happened to do, getting with the, I didn't know it'd be a great firm at the time. It had a great reputation, but obviously until you get in there, does this really fit for you?
Right.
And Neblett Beard and Arsenault has been a fit for me.
Wow. We're going to take a break here, but when we come back, we're going to talk more about that human side. We see lawyers, we see leaders in our community, we see people, but we don't ever really see what's behind them and how they have been driven to find their calling and find their purpose. And that's what we're talking about this morning. Attorney Mike Koch is our guest. Stay on point. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. Our guest this morning is attorney Mike Koch from Neblett Beard and Arsenault, and we're talking about his story and how he got on this road and how he is really absolutely loving life, living his passion, and really being connected to helping people through the law. And so before we went to break, you were at Southern Law School. You find in that first year, it's your passion and it's your calling. At that point, do you have a relationship to something higher and greater than yourself that you know that this is it?
Yeah, and I did. I feel like at that point I did have something, that God was calling me to do this. And I just stayed on that journey, until I finished up in 1989.
What does your dad say while you're on this journey to law school nonetheless?
I couldn't even say what, they were so proud. And that's probably something that keeps driving you too. Is your mom and dad obviously proud of you because nobody in the family had ever went and graduated college, and I happened to be the first.
And you were the baby.
And I was the baby, right, exactly.
So this was like was it big weight on your shoulder?
I didn't feel it was a weight.
No?
I didn't think it was a weight. When I'm in the moment, I'm just doing it. So I didn't feel like, I was carrying any type of burden or weight or anything like that. I just saw a finish line, and that's where I was getting to.
And then so you get to the finish line, and you graduate law school, and how do you then connect with Neblett, Beard, and Arsenault?
One of the lawyers from our firm is Willie Neblett, and his father started the firm. So he got a job here, and we went to school together. And I met him the first day of law school, and we became friends on the first day. And to this day, we remain great friends. And they ended up having an opening, and they said for me to apply. And one of the things that I think helped me get the job too was that I'd worked offshore. When I was living in North Dakota, I would come down south and live with my mom, but work offshore in the Gulf of Mexico on lay barges with Global Marine Pipeline.
Wow. So
really, I had the extreme heat in the summer and then go back in North Dakota and have this unbelievable winters. But it was, you just go through the grind. So
you then come to Alexandria.
Right.
And so what's that transition like?
Well, it was kind of fun. I don't know if it's funny, but you come here, I had no furniture. I had nothing, and they happened to have...
Had you ever even heard of it, Alexandria?
I did growing up because as a kid, I was a swimmer when I was living in Baton Rouge. And we used to come here for the state swim meet. And that's what I remember is Coach Wally Fall, who's still, coaches at Ash, and just a remarkable coach, but he was coach back in the day. But that's what I remember is coming to Alexandria as a kid. And staying at the Roadway Inn and swimming in these meets.
So you come to Alexandria for your first job.
Right.
In law. And it's with the firm. And so what are you thinking about building a career? And not only building a career, but a career and a place that you've been at since you started.
Yeah. And I guess, when I started, I wasn't really thinking of how long I'm going to be there.
Sure.
And it's one of those things that you got to be able to fit in. And I just happen and extremely blessed to fit in at Neblett, Beard, and Arsenault. And by fitting in is fitting in with the other lawyers there, fitting in there with the senior partners that are there, doing the job that you're supposed to be doing, and then enjoying it too. And I think all those things just happen to fall into place, the dominoes, and that's why I think I've remained there the entire time.
Wow. And so you meet your wife on this journey.
I did.
Who a lot of people know. Judge Patricia Cook. Tell us about that meeting.
My kids love hearing about this, but it was at a Halloween party for young lawyers, and this was back in 1991, so I'd been at the firm, 2 years, and she had just gotten there because she graduated 2 years later from Loyola Law School. She's from Mansfield, Louisiana, and we met at a Halloween party, and she was dressed up, I was dressed up, and we started going out after that, and then you left out a part, didn't you? She was dressed up, and I was dressed up, and
what happened in between that? You got up the courage to go say hi, or something.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I got the courage to go say hi and get to know her and get numbers, and we ended up going out afterwards, and I can tell you it's just been a blessing being married to Patricia. And I guess the biggest blessing is just the same interest, She has the same interest of helping people, of doing the right thing, and having kids.
And so it all comes together. And so when you guys are on that journey, you realize that you both have a heart for people.
That's right. That's exactly it. So right, and I think we both, we realize that we're always willing to, help somebody, and it starts with our family too. Both of our families, we're always helping. And people that know us know this, but we've had probably 10 to 15 people in our family that have lived with us, during some time since we've been married.
That you've helped to springboard.
Right. That they, at some point in their life that they needed a place to come to. So, God bless us with that. Bless us with the house, with the job.
And maybe that's what that desire for that house was, because that house would be that safe haven that would help others.
Right. And spring people. That's exactly right. And we've had nephews and brother that have gotten into drugs, and they just needed a place to get away from their environment. From their environment, exactly. And to come to our place. And, we don't judge them, but we do mandate that if they're going to stay with us, they're going to go to church. And you're going to get up. That's my big thing, too, is we had somebody recently, another family member stayed with us, and you got to get up at a certain time, too. Right. You're not going to be able to sleep all day. If you want to stay with us, we're going to do the best we can, but you got to help yourself. But we're going to provide you, with a place to help you, both spiritually and emotionally and financially, whatever we got to do to do the best we can to help.
That's awesome. Talk about how much your spiritual walk has meant to your success.
I think it's just incredible what my spiritual walk has meant to my success. It helps you just to be completely balanced, I think, too. Not only successful working, successful talking to clients, but raising kids and just through the marriage, too. That if it wasn't for my religion, there's no way I'd be where I'm at today.
Absolutely. And so you get on this journey with Neblett, Beard, and Arsenault, and you stay on this path. And one of the things that you say that you have written about is that you're most proud of the AV rating that the firm has. Talk about that. A lot of people don't even know what that is.
And you're right. A lot of people don't. And what AV rating is through Martindale Hubbell, and that's a rating agency of lawyers. And our firm is what's called AV rated. And then probably 7 or 8 years ago, then I'm personally rated AV also. And several lawyers at our firm are AV rated. But the firm as overall is. And what that means is you're one of the top firms voted amongst your peers, that they vote on you and they write in. And they do it so people don't know, so you don't get your friends to do it. They send it out to lawyers to write on it. And not only are you one of the most competent, firms with the AV rating, but you're also the most ethical. And that's what I take pride in. And I can say that's one of the driving forces of me being at the firm as long as I have, is I take pride in the fact that they're extremely competent and they're very ethical. And that's something that we just live by, that motto. And it starts with Richard Arsenault. And
it starts from the head.
Right, it starts from the head. And he demands it from everybody. And if it doesn't, then you're not going to be there. You're not going to be there 30 years.
Indeed. And so when you start on the journey of helping your family and then it spreads out to others, then you start, after you have attained success and become prosperous, you start giving back to your community. Talk about the give back and how important that is to both you and your wife.
Yeah, we both do that. We're both extremely involved, in our church. That I'm currently serving on the trustees at our church, Horseshoe Drive.
I was going to say, let's go ahead and give.
It's a great church. We got a great pastor, and and that's something we really believe in. Bringing our kids up through their church. And then, like I said, people that stay with us, they're going to come up in the church too if they're with us, and we're going to encourage them.
Was the church always important in your life, or did that happen along the way?
And it has been important. Just when my parents got divorced, I still have these memories of my dad taking the 3 kids, to church. And then you always hear about that, of planting the seed, and you never know when it's going to sprout or when I'm going to use the church, when I'm going to need the church.
Right.
And you don't realize it at the time because you're just going to church. You're just
going through the motions.
You're going through the motions. And then when you do need it, you can draw upon it. And that's to me, was the most important thing I've seen. And,
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Though that goes without saying, because people that have a real connection really get it. Hey, let us get a quick break here, but when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the other things that Attorney Mike Koch is doing in the community to be the change that he wants to see. Stay with us. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. Our guest this morning, Attorney Mike Koch from Neblett, Beard, and Arsenault. It always warms our hearts to share other people's stories with you, because we know deep down inside that every story gives life to the next story. And Mike, you have done an incredible job with really being so open about your life, because oftentimes we look at people and we just think, especially people that are successful, we just think they had it made, they followed, this roadmap and they ended up here. But there are twists and turns that happen in all of our lives. And thank you for being transparent to share that.
Well, thank you. That's my story, and that's just who I am. And I appreciate you visiting with me about that. Absolutely.
And so one of the other things among the many things that you're doing is you are now the current president of the Alexandria Bar Association. You're number 5, I think, from your firm to hold that position. How big is that?
I take it as an extreme big honor. And then I give credit to the people before me that we've had, and I've done some research recently by trying to figure out how long we had the Bar Association, how long has it been in existence. But it's been in existence since 1941.
Wow.
And to see, and to read these names on there, they're legends of the bar that have been past presidents, and it was my time to step up, that I was involved in the bar. When I first got out of law school for a time, served on executive committees and stuff, and then you get out and you're raising a family, and somebody else is doing it during that time. And then my family now has grown, where I have a son that just graduated from college, and then one still in college and one still at Bolton. But now it was just my time to step up.
And so when you look at your 3 boys and you know where you've come from, you know where you are, what kind of impartation do you make in them about the next thing and understanding their purpose and their passion?
Yeah, well, one, we try to, we church them. It's a big part of who our kids are. And then school, the interesting thing for them is college was, for them, it wasn't an option, that's what you're going to do. It was just an expectation from both Patricia and myself to our kids. And obviously, if it came to the point that they didn't want to do that,
right.
They wanted to branch off, then you know what? We're going to support them 100%. But we still want to help them, with that focus of education.
And then you guys have one that's planning to enter law school. What does that do for both of you when you hear those words?
Yeah, it's really amazing, because one, we never thought he would. He never grew up and just said, "Dad, I'm going to be a lawyer." Now, our middle child, Corey, he has said that, and our baby, Kevin, has said he wants to be a lawyer, but Kyle never has. He was on his own path, and he wanted to be, we thought he did, environmental engineer. He did real well in school, but obviously a lot of times the teachers would say, he needs to focus more. His brain is here, and then he really started focusing, and he did extremely well and had great grades at LSU and graduated, and we wait for him to get his job and move on the next step in life. And then he tells us that, Mom and Dad, that I want to be a lawyer like you guys.
Wow. And what do y'all say to him? What is that conversation like? Because obviously y'all are not expecting it, right?
No, we were not expecting it. So it's like, is that your dream? Do you really want to, we want to press them on it, because it's like anything. You don't know if they really want to do that, and they might think it's just, the good side of it. But they've seen the good and the bad growing up in our household of being a lawyer. But to hear him say that really made me proud that I knew that's what he wanted to do, as opposed to Mom and Dad didn't say, y'all be lawyers or grow up to do anything. We just want them to get education, whatever it may be, whether it be trade school education.
Absolutely.
I'm not a big believer it has to be college, but it's get an education, move on.
Right, for the next thing.
For the next thing. The one story I'll tell you about this is really interesting. I love telling people. It's my wife's story. Yeah, she's one of 13, grew up in North Louisiana, and her parents didn't go to college, and all 13 kids graduated college.
Right.
So I have that force on that side, and me, push. So the kids were...
they were destined to end up somewhere good.
That's what we hope, but they still, you still got to raise them, and they can fall off the deep end, and tomorrow they could. I mean, that's when we, have Jesus Christ in our life, and we believe in it, and if we do fall off, then we can get back on the track to do right.
That's exactly right. And so in all of that, you've found time to give back to your community. And one of the things that I asked you earlier was how, and we may or may not have been on the air, but I asked you how it was to stay at a firm for all these years. And you said one of the things that they really understood and really created within the company was that if it was important to you, it was important to them.
And that's exactly right. And that's been one of the biggest blessings of working at Neblett Beard and Arsenault, is that they allowed me to do things like that. And you know, if you're doing the right thing, I think that's what they're looking at too. If you're doing the right thing, then we welcome it. And
serving your community is certainly the right thing. And one of the things that you did early on was connected with Bolton High School.
Yeah, and before that, I connected or right when I first got married, I connected with Alexandria High School as a mock trial teacher. So I did that for 12 years.
Did you?
Yes, and we had some fantastic teams back then. And now one of the members of the team, we ended up going to nationals and just did extremely well, was Martha Rundell, who's now an attorney in town here.
Wow, I was going to say, did you see a lot of talent or potential talent?
Oh, yeah. So her dad's an extremely talented lawyer, too, so that certainly helped her. But it was just such a great thing and experience to have these kids. And one is a priest now, another one's an engineer, another one's a medical doctor. That's part of our team. I mean, these kids were just exceptional. And so anyway, so I started with Ash, and our kids ended up going to Bolton. So then my wife and I both took action to help Bolton any way we could. And I ended up being voted the president of the Bolton Boosters. So what that was a liaison between the raising funds and then helping the athletic side. And we'd help the coaches, get money for helmets, scoreboard, things of that sort. And then our big thing, too, is cleaning up. Our big belief is having a clean school that people can take pride in. And we stole this idea from Phoenix. We saw that they have done that, and they've done really extremely well with getting, if the parents are involved in the school, then the kids will be involved.
That's right.
So if they see your mom and dad out there, then they're going to take pride instead of throwing a cup down. Well, you hope they do.
Right.
The cup down, that they're going to pick it up. And so we help paint the school. We've, done a lot of work. Weed eat, we trim bushes, and we have another one coming up on August 11th, I believe, on a Saturday, where the parents will be out there again. But it's not the parents doing all the work. It's the kids, that go there, too, to come. And then, obviously, the new freshmen coming in. It gives them opportunity to meet the upperclassmen, to meet the principal. We've had great principals at Bolton over the years.
And it gives the school a sense of pride, doesn't it?
Absolutely, from everybody, from the teachers that walk up, and they, some of them, not all of them are involved in it, and they got their own schedules and stuff.
Right.
But people that can, they come up and they see the fresh paint and they see the cleanliness, and it gives them a little extra step, and then if they do that, they pass it on down to the kids, and then we hope the kids have that extra step and that they take pride in their school.
Absolutely, and not only are you helping at Bolton High School, but you're also helping in pro bono ways where you're giving back to people who can't necessarily afford legal help. Talk about why you started doing that. Because you didn't have to. No,
didn't have to. But that's that thing of trying to help people, so I guess that's what I was born with, and that's why I feel this is my calling of being a lawyer is and having the firm be able to allow me to do pro bono work, and not only me, but other members in the firm too. And that's just, it's just a neat thing to be able to do to help people that can't afford to hire a lawyer. And obviously we do it with our family, all the time, but this is other people in the community that needs help that allows us to do that.
Absolutely. Mike, we want to thank you so much for sharing your experience, your life, and your hope. Because what I think that you've done today is given people hope. That it doesn't matter where you start. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you start, that you can end up and you can have great success, and you can use that success, because it's not just for you, but it's for others, and you are doing it well.
Well, thank you, Carlette.
Thank you so much. Hey, everybody. Attorney Mike Koch from Neblett Beard and Arsenault has been our guest this morning and our profile. We're out of time for now. Stay with us. We're back to wrap up right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. I'm Carlette Christmas.
And I'm Glenda Stock, and this is our final point today, On Point.
Glenda, it's always great, and I know I say this every time we profile somebody, but it encourages me, and we hope that it encourages our viewers and listeners, when you hear people's stories of starting from nothing and not having a real history or a real background, and having the tenacity and the wherewithal to grind, go deep, and just not quit.
He used that term, grinding it out. You know, a good old McDonald's term, grinding it out. But Mike is a great example of that, taking the gifts that God gave him, which was a big, giant heart, and using it not only in his business, but his personal life and his walk, obviously his spiritual walk as well. You know, I had the pleasure of meeting Patricia and Mike early on, arriving in Alexandria. And interestingly, it was Patricia first, because with her role as judge and involved in many, many rehabilitation programs, she reached out to employers that would give folks second chances. And so I had just an honor, really, I felt, in meeting her early on, and we just developed a great friendship and a great relationship. You know, the opportunity to do these stories with people locally is a gift for us, because we have these gems in our communities, and many times people never know they exist.
Right.
And this wonderful relationship with Neblett, Beard, and Arsenault has exposed us to some giant hearts.
Absolutely.
People who are there and in that capacity and have been there.
Right.
For close to 40 years, most of them. And they are here to serve in our community, and they do it from their heart.
Yeah, and
which I think is just giant.
And isn't that almost like a common thread?
It is indeed.
That they have, and that all of them really have backstories.
Yes.
About becoming. And then when they create and own the success that they have, they don't forget about giving back.
Yes. And I know for a fact that Mike has been actively involved many, many years, and he and I got the chance to do some things, you know, on behalf of McDonald's and to help some of those teams and some of those kids that he was out there, Patricia with her arms at CASA. I mean, just the things that they do. And you know, as he pointed out, her story is unique. You know, I've never met anyone that was one of 13 children. You know?
I haven't either, I don't think.
So the fact that he is equally as mesmerized by that, you know. But again, you know, how many husbands would be able to open their home?
Right.
And we know that the family has to be huge with these numbers, and they have done so, as he pointed out, having over 15 family members over the years live with them.
Isn't that something?
It is. It really is, and I think it speaks volumes to the real person that we got a chance to get a glimpse of today and to hear from. And it's just no secret and why they are so successful and why they're doing so well, and he is doing so well, because he truly is operating out of a gift that comes from his heart. So, great gentleman, great story, great wisdom, and a great leader in our community. We're blessed to have him.
And you know, when you talk about his heart, he really put that on display today. And what I really can appreciate is his spiritual walk, his walk with God.
Yes.
And how important that is to he and his wife and their family.
Right.
And what that brings to their giving.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yes.
And to be able to not only give in your family, but in the community, in the schools, and for them to have such compassion and such humanity for those less fortunate, it really is a gift.
Yes.
To be able to take people who need a second chance and show them that love and that compassion.
Yeah. And speaking of common threads in that law firm, another one that comes to my mind from everyone that we have interviewed there, and Mike is no different, is approachability. I mean, these people are real, down-to-earth individuals that you can sit at a desk and have a conversation with just about anything.
Right.
And feel their true personable touch. That sometimes is rare in what they do.
Right.
So I admire them for that, and we're blessed that they share that with us and our viewers and our listeners, because they are top of their game, and they're, you know, one of a kind, and the awards that they have earned over the years are not to be looked at slightly. They're huge.
Right. And for them to open up the doors of the firm, and we were just sitting here thinking about the years of experience just from the attorneys that we have had.
Met. Yeah, we haven't even met them all.
We said it's got to be well over 100 plus years of experience under one roof.
No doubt.
And they all come with their own very personal, very real stories. And when you have a situation, like you said, with McDonald's being sued for the first time, or having to sue someone, or whatever your intersection with the law might be, you want somebody who can really have a heart for you at that moment.
Identify with you. And I would say that they fit that bill and then some.
Absolutely. Neblett, Beard, and Arsenault, find out what your case is really worth. Probably more than you think. We are out of time for now. I'm Carlette Christmas.
And I'm Glenda Stock, and this has been our final point today on Point.
Stay with us, everybody. We'll be back to wrap up right after this.